My name is Mike Conklin. I'm a teacher here at University High School, and I teach math and computer science. Well, I think the role of a teacher is to, whenever possible, let the students discover whatever the goal of the lesson is. And sometimes, I know a lot of teachers traditionally, and I think it was the way when I was growing up, think it's much more efficient just to present the information and kind of, I'm going to say shove it down their throats, but that feels like a more efficient way. But I've found in my years of teaching that it might seem more efficient at the time, but the information just doesn't stick with them as much as it does when they've discovered something on their own. One, they feel a sense of pride that, oh, we discovered this thing that mathematicians discovered hundreds of years ago, but I found it on my own. And plus, besides the pride, the material is just going to stick with them more in the long run if they found it out on their own. The path to becoming a teacher, I think it started not only knowing I wanted to be a teacher in kindergarten, but other than I had a paper route in 4th and 5th grade, every job I've had since then has been either tied to mathematics or working with kids. Eastern Washington University played a big role in my computer science position where I am now. I had taught math for 19 years, pretty much only math, and I thought a school our size should have some computer science, so I kept kind of nagging at people to get computer science, and then not thinking that I would be the one end up teaching it, but so they said, well, if you think it's a good idea, then maybe you should be the one to teach it. So computer science in Washington mostly falls under the Career and Technical Education, CTE, umbrella, and so to do that I needed to get my CTE certification. And so I looked at some programs in the area. Central Washington University has a program, and University of Idaho has a program, but Eastern Washington right here in our backyard has a great program as well, and they have what's called a Plan 2 certification, which is for people coming from outside industry to get their CTE certification. And they had an online program that was affordable, but also rigorous and meaningful, which two things don't always go together in some coursework. But Eastern had a great program, and I was able to finish it in a couple of years, and they were flexible with my schedule, and I ended up being able to get my CTE certification through Eastern, and now I'm a fully certified CTE instructor, and so my students can get their CTE credit, which is a graduation requirement for our high school. A typical day in my building as a teacher, our contract day starts about 7:15, and most days when I arrive, there's students waiting for me at my door with questions or just wanting to get into the lab and do some work. And then classes start around 7:40 on most days. And my schedule's set up, and all teachers here, we teach 5 classes. There's 6 periods, so we teach 5 classes, and then we get one period for planning time. And then after school, we're contracted to be available for at least a half hour, but most teachers it's 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, depending on if there's a test the next day. Yeah, so at our school we have advisory once or twice a week. So those students I have for all 4 years of their high school experience. So I meet with them a couple times a week. But other than that, that's a typical day. So my planning time is pretty intense every day. Particularly my math classes, like I said, they, what kind of engagement do I want to start the class with? Is it a discovery lesson? Is it a more lecture-based lesson? Are they just practicing skills that we've been working on or concepts that we've been working on? And then something I've worked on a lot this year is some sort of wrap-up activity, which even saying that, I feel it should be obvious that we should have some sort of wrap-up activity, but sometimes we get so into the lesson and all of a sudden the bell rings and, okay, have a good day. And so that's something that I've tried to plan into my lessons more this year, is some sort of, let's bring it all together and let's take a few minutes and think about what we did today and where is this taking us for tomorrow.